Welcome to World Insight. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. A major legal battle is unfolding in the United States over gun laws, specifically, magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. The case, Duncan v. Bonta, started in California, but could impact the entire nation. At its core, does the Second Amendment protect the right to own these magazines? California bans large-capacity magazines, arguing they're not needed for self-defense and are often used in mass shootings. The state claims banning them is a common-sense step for public safety. Gun rights advocates counter that these magazines are standard for many popular firearms and that banning them infringes on constitutional rights. The debate is about more than one law. It's about how the Second Amendment is interpreted in modern America. After the Supreme Court's 2022 Bruin decision, the legal landscape for gun laws changed dramatically. Duncan v. Bonta is one of the first big tests of this new standard. The case has seen victories and defeats for both sides, leading to this critical moment. As of November 8, 2025, the most recent major ruling upheld California's ban. But the fight isn't over. The case is now headed to the U.S. Supreme Court. The stakes are high. The Supreme Court could either validate magazine bans nationwide or strike them down, setting a powerful precedent. This decision will shape gun laws for decades. Both sides are watching closely, knowing the outcome could redefine gun rights in America. The nation waits for a final answer from the highest court. The legal journey of Duncan versus Bonta has been a saga of reversals and appeals. It began in 2017, challenging California's ban on magazines over 10 rounds. In 2019, Judge Roger Benitez ruled the ban unconstitutional, calling these magazines common and protected by the Second Amendment. California quickly appealed, and a 3-judge panel agreed with Benitez in 2020. But the state requested an en banc review, a larger panel of judges. In 2021, that panel reversed course, upholding the ban. Then, in 2022, the Supreme Court's Bruin decision changed the legal test for gun laws. The Supreme Court sent Duncan back to Judge Benitez to apply this new standard. In 2023, Benitez again struck down the ban. California appealed, and in March 2025, the en banc Ninth Circuit reversed Benitez once more, upholding the ban in a 7-4 decision. For now, California's ban remains in effect. The plaintiffs have taken their final step, appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court. This case's journey highlights the deep divisions and shifting legal standards in America's gun debate. Each court decision has swung the pendulum, keeping both sides on edge. Now, the Supreme Court will have the last word. The outcome could set a national precedent. The stakes have never been higher. The magazine capacity debate is about safety versus liberty. Supporters of bans argue that limiting magazine size can save lives, especially in mass shootings, by forcing attackers to reload. They see these magazines as unnecessary for self-defense and believe reasonable regulations are constitutional. Gun rights advocates argue these magazines are standard for millions of law-abiding owners and essential for effective self-defense. They say bans put citizens at a disadvantage against criminals, who ignore such laws. For them, restricting magazine capacity is an infringement on the right to self-defense. The California Rifle and Pistol Association insists the focus should be on punishing criminals, not restricting responsible gun owners. This case is about more than hardware. It's about the balance between public safety and constitutional rights. The outcome will define what that balance looks like. The Ninth Circuit's March 2025 ruling was a turning point. In a 7-4 vote, the court upheld California's ban, reversing Judge Benitez's decision. The majority argued that magazines over 10 rounds are not arms protected by the Second Amendment, but optional accessories. This allowed the court to apply a different legal standard and uphold the ban. The court also cited historical tradition, saying the ban fits with past regulations of dangerous or unusual weapons. Gun control advocates celebrated, calling it a victory for public safety. Gun rights groups fiercely disagreed, arguing that magazines are essential firearm components. The California Rifle and Pistol Association vowed to appeal, calling the ruling a misinterpretation of the Second Amendment. The decision set the stage for a Supreme Court showdown. The legal and cultural stakes are enormous. The Ninth Circuit's decision was deeply divided. 4 judges wrote strong dissents, led by Judge Lawrence Van Dyke. Van Dyke argued the majority ignored the Supreme Court's Bruin standard, which requires gun laws to align with historical tradition. He even included a video in his dissent, demonstrating that magazines are essential, not optional, for modern firearms. The majority called this improper highlighting the court's internal conflict. Dissenting judges said magazines over 10 rounds are common and protected and found no historical precedent for such bans. Their arguments will be central in the Supreme Court appeal. Strong dissents often influence the High Court's review. The split reveals just how unsettled the law remains. The Supreme Court now faces a pivotal choice. After the Ninth Circuit's ruling, the plaintiffs petitioned the Supreme Court in August 2025. The court hears only a small fraction of cases, but Duncan v. Bonta checks all the boxes: national impact, constitutional questions, and a split among lower courts. Other circuits, like the Third, are considering similar bans, increasing the pressure for a unified national standard. Some justices have signaled interest in clarifying which weapons and accessories the Second Amendment protects. The Duncan case is a prime opportunity for the court to decide if magazine bans violate constitutional rights. The plaintiffs also argue that confiscating pre-owned magazines is an unconstitutional taking of property. If the Supreme Court takes the case, a decision could come in 2026 or 2027. The ruling will set a nationwide precedent. Oral arguments and written opinions will shape the future of gun laws. The outcome will impact every state. The nation awaits the court's decision. The Supreme Court's decision in Duncan v. Bonta will reshape America's gun laws. If the court upholds the ban, states will have broad authority to regulate magazine capacity and other firearm features. This would validate similar laws in states like New York and New Jersey, and likely inspire more states to follow suit. If the court strikes down the ban, it will be a landmark victory for gun rights, making standard capacity magazines legal nationwide. Such a ruling would affirm that these magazines are protected by the Second Amendment. Either way, the decision will clarify the scope of gun rights and state power. The case will leave a lasting mark on the legal and cultural landscape. The debate over guns in America is far from over. Duncan versus Bonta is a defining moment. The nation's future on gun rights hangs in the balance.